That will be March 7.
That'll be March 7th. Ah, yeah. This is the group that I told one of your colleagues that is going to deny me from celebrating my birthday.
Mercy.
Pardon?
We'll celebrate it for you.
You celebrate it, but I will be teaching you, so we will all be busy.
Yeah, man, after the class, you will celebrate it for you, don't worry.
After the lectures, we celebrate it. Do I
Yes,
come to Gotek or Tamale or to KTI or to where? To Keta?
But,
now you do
but
it online.
virtual
You
celebration.
do it on
We do it
We will come
online.
to Ho.
birthday, yeah, birthday celebration
Oh,
online.
how
We
I
will
wish
come
I
to
could
Ho.
share my. I'll come to Hoe. Anyway, that is great. But I'll relax in the morning. Normally, I take the day to reflect and relax. So it's one of those things. Yes. So for Unit 3, it is on appraising and improving performance. In the Unit 2, we looked at performance management, how we manage the performance, the work that individuals do, how they do it, and how they do it well, how the organization or the leaders, the managers are able to help them to do their work well. So we also realize that it's not just the individual, but the organization also has a role to play. Because if I am supposed to be giving training and development, and the organization doesn't have money to do that for me, it means that I'll carry on with my mistakes, and that can go against my performance towards the organizational goals. So, because the management of my performance is very important, I need to be supported to work on the areas that are not doing well. So the areas that are not doing well has to be first identified. And how do we identify that? It is only when we have my performance has been assessed or my performance has been appraised, then I can be helped to improve upon it, or I will improve it myself. Maybe there are certain things I'm doing that is not helping. So I choose to move away from those things so that I can improve on my performance, and it will go a long way to affect the organization's performance as well. So this is our outline for today. We look at what performance appraisal is. What do we use performance appraisal to do? And then we also look at the process in performance appraisal. Yesterday, we saw the performance management process. And today, we are going to see the performance appraisal also process. After the performance appraisal process, we will now look at the performance appraisal method. There are certain methods that we can use to assess how well the individual or the employee is doing. We also look at having guidelines for effective performance appraisal. The fact that my performance or your performance has to be assessed doesn't mean that it should be done anyhow. There are guidelines that should be followed so that the assessment is deemed effective. The final thing we'll look at is some common problems with performance appraisal. The fact that there are guidelines doesn't mean that we might not get it right at some point. So these problems, we'll get to know them, and when we work on them, we, as an organization, will be able to do a better appraisal of employee performance. So these are the learning objectives for the 6 sessions that we are going to go through. So by the time we finish, you should be able to understand or explain the performance, the concept of performance appraisal in your own words, and then discuss maybe some uses of the performance appraisal, describe the process within that will help us to undertake the performance appraisal. And then you should be able to discuss some key methods that can be used for appraising an employee's performance, and also explain some of the guidelines for effective performance appraisal, and then some of the challenges and problems associated with performance appraisal. So straight we move to session 1, which is performance appraisal. So when we say performance appraisal, what do we mean? It is any contribution that individuals make to organizations which employ them. So that is, first of all, looking at what performance is. So performance is any contribution that you as an employee engage in towards the achievement of the organization's goals. I want to check if, okay, the recording has started. Great. So if my contribution to an organization that has employed me is my performance, how is it assessed or appraised? So in simple terms, with the second point, I said it is a systematic evaluation of an employee's job performance. So if you like, you can decide to put a systematic evaluation of an employee's contribution to an organization that employ them. So that's performance appraisal. So that is, so putting the definition of the first point of performance into the evaluation, which is also another word for appraisal, is evaluation or assessment. So when you hear performance evaluation, performance appraisal, performance assessment, performance assessment, all these things are geared towards checking on what the individual has contributed to the organization. So a systematic evaluation of an employee's contribution to an organization that has employed them, and productivity. So it is their job performance, so employees' job performance and productivity concerning established criteria, which tells us that for every organization, they have, before they assess you, there is a benchmark against which they are assessing you. There is a benchmark. So that is the established criteria. And if we are to look at this established criteria, it could be about how you do your work. So if, for instance, you are supposed to make clothes for a fashion designing company and you make tops for ladies, and then the buttons are supposed to be placed maybe halfway as a way of fashion for the individual to wear and know that, yes, they have also been able to put on something fashionable. Then the organization's criteria will be that tops of this nature must have slanted buttons fixed on the tops, or shirts of this nature or this style must have buttons slanted. So when you fix your buttons and they are straight, then you have not been able to achieve the established criteria of the organization. So that is why we are saying that your performance is not because you've done well, your performance on its own, but it is concerning the established criteria of the organization. So if I come and I look at what you have done against what the organization requires that you do, then we can clap for you and say, yes, you have been able to do this as you ought to. So if your performance is being evaluated, it should be evaluated against something. Why do we have to appraise or evaluate or assess an employee's performance? Because it serves as a critical component. If we are managing your performance, we should be able to know whether you are doing it as you ought to do it. And then we say, no, do it this way. Oh, yes, you are on track, carry on. But if we don't assess, then we cannot manage your performance. And if we cannot manage your performance, it is going to affect the overall organizational, how effective the organization will be. So that is why performance appraisal is supposed to be done. It is therefore, so we can say that performance appraisal is in performance management as a component. It is a component. That's why the point says that it's a critical component of performance management. So performance management is the bigger umbrella or topic, and we can find performance appraisal in performance management. And if we are able to do the evaluation of employees' performance well, then it can positively affect the organization. And that's where we can say that the organization is effective. One other thing you need to know is that performance appraisal is formal. It is a formal thing that is undertaken in every organization. It is not done haphazardly or anyhow. So it means that if it is formal, there are laid down rules by the organization that must be followed when you have to assess or appraise employees. And this component, performance appraisal, which can be found in performance management, was introduced by Lord and Taylor around 1914. So if you look at the background I've given you in this definitions that I've put, the performance appraisal concept that I've put down on the slide, can easily, you will see some of the words coming in. So we are saying that performance appraisal is a formal and systematic process. Anything that is formal, we say that thing must be done in a particular order. So from A, you go to B, from B, you go to C. So it means that is why we are saying that anything that is systematic means that it is done in an orderly manner. So it is performance appraisal is a formal and systematic process by which job relevant strengths and weaknesses of employees are identified, observed, measured, recorded, and developed. So when we have a systematic or an orderly way of identifying the job incumbent or the employee's strengths and weaknesses, then sometimes you can go there and observe the employee, and then you can write down things or record things down, and then you decide on how to help that individual to overcome that weakness. If it is a strength, of course, you congratulate the person on it and encourage him or her to continue with it. If it's a weakness, you try to help the person correct that weakness so that that weakness becomes a strength. So putting the first definition differently, we can also say that performance appraisal, as I said, we can call it performance evaluation, performance assessment. We can also call it performance review. We want to review your performance in the organization. So performance review sessions that give employees feedback on their past performance and or future potential. So when you are able to review what the person is doing and you think that he has some strengths and he has some weaknesses, of course, the performance is fact. You only review performances, something that the person has done. If the person has not done an act, you cannot judge him on that, because then it will be like you are witch hunting the person. How do you know that he's going to do it this way? Let him do it, and then we can classify it as a past performance. And then once you are able to give feedback on the past performance, you can also speak into the person's future performance, because the things you talk about in what he has done, he will use it to correct whatever performances he will engage in the future. So another way also that I put, so you can see that I've put 3 different definitions, and the third one says that it involves evaluation of employees' efforts. Efforts can also be replaced by performance. So evaluation of an employee's performance and their contribution towards the achievement of the overall goal of the organization. So that these actually tries to define, these points try to define what performance appraisal concept is all about. So as I said, it was developed by Lord and Taylor in 1914. And Peter Drucker also and Douglas McGregor said that it is important to look at the human side of the organization. It is not always about the technological side or the hard side where you have to get the machines, but look at the human side. How do people work? What are the things that will motivate them to also work? So the human side is very critical. The person is working for you and he has issues, welfare issues, financial issues, but you've closed your eyes on these things and you just want them to just keep on working for you. When they break down, you can easily replace them. So if something is bothering them, whether concerning their work or concerning their own welfare as an organization, it is good for us to also take care of it. So Peter Drucker came up with the management by objective. That is the MBO you are seeing, management by objective. So as management is monitoring the performance of the people, it is tailored towards what the objectives are within the organization. The third point talks about performance appraisal being critical to the success of performance management. So as I explained in the introduction on the first slide, I told you that performance appraisal is a component of performance management. So the performance appraisal looks at the human side. There is the aspect where you have to look at the organization side, and then you marry the two to achieve the success for the organization. Most people in the organization do not like performance appraisal. It is like an examination. As I sit here, as a lecturer teaching you. If right now they say they are going to give me some form of exams right now, there is no human being, not even the vice chancellor, who will be prepared for exams. Nobody wants to be examined. We know we can do it, but we still have entertained that apprehension of the fact that I am being assessed. Nobody likes it. So most employees dislike performance appraisal. And when you undertake performance appraisal, once you observe and assess the person, you must give feedback. And that feedback must help you in your decision making also. Whatever you come up with must help you to give the employee the right feedback. And then once you give the employee the right feedback, in subsequent management decisions, it should also guide you in how you put out decisions in the organization. And then, based on these decisions, it can also inform the training and development needs within the organization. So you know that, oh, my people lack this. So if I'm going to organize training, this is what I will do for them. So when you do training and development, you realize that you don't just do training and development out of nothing. It comes up as a result of something which is important for every organization to undertake. For you to be able to do performance appraisal, you should have a system. Yesterday, I told you that the HR policies and rules and regulations and procedures, we normally call it a system. So yesterday, we saw the performance management system. There is also the performance appraisal system. So a PA system must comply with the laws governing employment. You should know that the Labor Act have issues of employing people to work in your organization. And because the Labor Act is there, there are other adjunct laws that support the Labor Act to run an organization. There's also whatever the organization comes up with, whatever policy the organization comes up with, must comply with the laws in the country or governing employment in the organization in the country. You cannot just do performance appraisal and say, this is my organization and I'll do the way I want. No. If you don't take care, you find people taking you to the law courts. So the laws require you to assess performance in a particular way. That doesn't mean that because it is your policy, you will abuse anyone during the assessment of their performance. So you have to ensure that whatever you are putting out there, you can defend it if you are dragged to court. If you find an employee telling you, I'll meet you in court, or my lawyers will write to you or summon you to court, when you come as an employer, you should be able to defend whatever you have. Hey, oh, yeah. Oh, the other one. So, sorry for the break. So if you are appraising, for you to be able to legally defend your performance appraisal systems or policies, make sure that your performance appraisal is based on the job analysis. When you have your job analysis, you analyze the job, it is going to give you two documents. The job, how many of you, I want to see by hand, the two documents that will come out of a job analysis. Let me go to when you do job analysis, you are able to get two documents. What are those documents? I want to find out from the class first. Anybody? There are two important documents. Anyone, do you know those documents? Put up your hand if you also want to make an attempt. Hey, did you do employee staffing? HR students, did you do employee staffing or did you do recruitment and selection?
Yes, madam.
Did you do human resource planning?
Yes, madam.
And you also did job analysis. So the question I'm asking you is not out of your league at all. There are questions that an HR student should be able to answer
Madam, please,
easily.
job description.
Job description, perfect. There are two documents. So the other one, anybody else, Dorcas has given us job description.
And madam, employment contract. Oh,
No,
job specification.
Madam, job
job
specification.
specification. Thank you. Thank you, Laurentia. So you see, these things, they are the areas we are tackling in HR, performance management, training and development, you will need certain things from performance management, performance and compensation management. You also need information from the recruitment and selection that you have gone through. So don't throw anything you have learned away. You will need some information from there. Right. So the performance, the job analysis will give you the job specification or person specification and the job description. So if you are going to appraise the person, you should know what job he does. And his assessment should be based on what he's doing. It will be unfair on my side or on the on the side of code to tell you that you have a quiz on performance and compensation. And then when you get there, the paper, the exam paper is about maybe biology. It's not fair. Legally, you cannot defend. Why are we giving you question paper bordering on biology when actually you didn't do it at all? It's like you have an accountant, you have a secretary, you have a production manager, and then you invite the accountant to come and sit down, and you are asking him about how letters are being prepared and how wrongly they are being done. It's not fair. That person can take you on if he realizes that you have marked him down. He can sue you in a law court, and he will get some charges against you, which will be legal. So performance appraisal should be based on the job analysis, on what the person is doing. Also, to help you to legally defend your performance appraisal system, you should define your performance dimensions in behavioral terms. So if an individual is supposed to do a job as a secretary, and you tell him or her that, or maybe as a receptionist, he's in the front office, a customer comes, and the way that individual speaks to the customer, the behavior towards him must be defined. He or she should know So in some organizations, when you even call on the phone, they know what to say. Quickly you call, they say, oh, this is State Insurance Company. You are speaking with Lydia. Can I help you? So that is what everybody that comes in as a front office staff must receive calls and give that response. So those of us who we pick our phones, we get calls, we pick the phone because it's your personal phone. You can respond anyhow. And sometimes I call some students and they pick the phone. One guy picked my call one day and said, hello, who that? Who that? And I said, young man, we don't respond to phone calls like that. What is who that? Are you not a business student? Respond like a business person. So, oh, hello, good afternoon. Please, may I know who I'm speaking with? But you pick the phone, hello, who that? The other time, another one, you said, who is this? And I said, that is not good language. So, if they are in an organization, they must be told how to respond to calls on the phones. So, once you have been able to define how they should behave on the phone, if a customer comes and complains that he called the company and then somebody spoke rudely to him, and this is the response of the person, then that customer is justified to say that he has been spoken to rudely because the organization has its performance dimensions defined. The other thing too is that you have to monitor and audit for any potential discrimination. In an attempt to evaluate or review the person's performance, make sure that there is no discrimination on the part of the person evaluating the employee. If the person feels that because I'm a woman, I have been spoken to in a manner that I don't like, the person can sue you in the law court. So if you want to legally be defensible in your performance appraisal system, make sure that you don't overlook these things. These are some of the legal requirements, not all. These are some of the legal requirements in performance appraisal. Okay. Okay, sorry, the sharing went off. So we have looked at section 2, which has given us some background to performance appraisal, the concepts, and then we have also looked at the legal requirements of a performance appraisal system. So we move straight into session, this session 2? Yeah, session 2, the uses of performance appraisal. I think this should be session 3. Yes. Okay. So this, we move to section 2, uses of performance appraisal. Which hash. Okay, so the next topic we are going to look at is the uses of performance appraisal. So these are some of the key areas that performance appraisal can be used when you assess the individual or you evaluate the person. The information you get will help you to plan your human resource in the organization. It tells you that, oh, Kojo is doing well in production unit than warehouse, so let me shift him there, and then next time I will move Adjoa to this. So it helps you to, once you assess everybody individually, you see their strength, it will help you in planning your human resources. So you shift them around before you decide to recruit other people to come in and work. So the information from the feedback you get from your performance evaluation can also help you to know who to recruit. Maybe one person is overburdened, so it will help, the information will help you to recruit and select other employees to come and work. And then it will also guide you to know what to train the staff on. So it helps in training and development. And then it also helps you to know how the career, this one is also in twofold. For the individual, you get to know that, oh, I'm good at accounting than human resource. So I'll pursue accounting profession. So it helps you plan your career, and the organization also gets to know where to develop your career to. And then when we also assess you and get to know that you are doing well, then it will affect the compensation that we give to you. So it can help you to move one individual from a particular scale to another. And then it also gives you an internal employee relations. You are able to know how to relate with people within the organization. So when there are certain jobs that come, you know that, oh, Ekuya can do this job better than Amma, because Ekuya has a flair. He likes figures. So this one, if I give it to Ekuya, he or she can do it. So it helps, that information from the assessment of employees' performance helps you also to know the kind of internal employee relations to develop in the organization. So that is all for session 2. We move on to session 3, which talks about performance appraisal process. So the performance appraisal process follows a structured approach. It follows a structured approach so that there will be fairness and effectiveness. Nobody can say that, oh, you did this and for me, I didn't get this, I didn't get that. So you want to make sure that you are able to fairly assess everyone. So for you to be able to, and I told you from the beginning that appraisal is supposed to be a formal and systematic process. So once it is systematic, it means there are laid down rules of doing it. So first of all, identify the specific performance appraisal goal. What is the goal? Why are you assessing them? What is the purpose? For you, for instance, in coming to school, once we assess you or give you a quiz or end of semester, it has a goal that is going to form your grade for the course. And based on the grade you get, it will determine the class that you are going to get. So the grade will determine your CGPA And then it will depend, it will also determine the class that you will get. And then the certificate that will be awarded to you. So you also need to identify what you are going to actually use a performance appraisal to do. What is the purpose of assessing them? And then if you are able to now understand or have a goal or have something in mind that this is the reason why I am going to assess them, then you establish the performance criteria and you communicate it to employees. You don't hide in one corner and then you watch them when they default, then you come and say, hey, macho, that kind of. But you have to let them know what the criteria is. And then everybody follows that because you want them to give off their best. And whilst they are doing it, you also have to examine the work. That is why performance appraisal is not a yearly thing. You have to do it different times so that you correct the person as the year goes by. In some organizations, they do it quarterly. Others do it half yearly. But it's advisable to assess an individual more so that they will be able to correct themselves subsequently. So examine the work that they are doing and give them feedback. And when you are giving them feedback, they go back and implement the feedback that you have given them. And then you will come back and now assess them. So let them know that this is how they are supposed to do the work. You go around, you look at what they are doing, and then you will now set a time where they will come and then sit down and you actually evaluate them. And when you evaluate them, discuss that appraisal information with them. Don't go and discuss adverse appraisal information with a queer. That is gossip. You are not being a good HR practitioner. So discuss it with the employee involved and let them understand what they need to do and what they need not to do. So this is the process that you have to follow. Some organizations can blow it up and do even more than what we have, but the basics is what I've projected for you. Okay, so that brings us to the end of session 3, and we move on to session 4. Now we are going to look at the performance appraisal methods. The performance appraisal, we said that you need to be evaluated, you need to be assessed. Okay, so if you have to assess them, there must be a method that you will use. And this method must also be made known to the individual. So there are some assessments, the method or the instrument for appraising performance is the next topic we are going to look at. So you, as an organization, you can select a method depending on the goal that you have. If you remember the process, the first thing, what is the performance appraisal goal? So depending on the goal that you have in assessing them, you should select a method. Sometimes you can select combine two methods in use. And we have the 360-degree performance appraisal. And I want to find out if anybody can explain the 360-degree performance appraisal for us. Is there anyone who can explain the 360-degree performance appraisal? I want to hear you as well. I know some of these topics you've gone through them. I want to see if you still can remember and apply it in this course. Anyone? Let me go and check the names. Oh. Yes, Lolo, Laurentia, please help
Madam,
us with this. Yes,
madam, please, I want to try.
that's
Madam,
fine. Go ahead.
the 360-degree performance appraisal normally is a feedback method where employees evaluated from multiple angles, not just
Okay,
but by people they work with every day.
okay,
Mm.
okay. That is a perfect try, and the try is a good try. So, as you have said, you an individual is assessed from different angles. So, with this one, you cannot say that my manager is being biased or my manager didn't like me. That's why he assessed me this way. If what your manager is saying is same as your colleagues in the office, same as even your subordinates and even customers that come into the organization, then it tells you that you need to work on yourself and become a better person. So it's coming from different angles. That's why if the organization's goal is to incorporate diverse perspectives so that they will ensure that there's fairness and accuracy in their performance evaluation, they can go for this method and then that can help them. Because you see, some of these things I told you, they are tied to the person's promotion, training, even succession planning, and also their salary. So if you mark them down, it can affect them. It will either make them mark time in their promotion as well as in their salary, but you don't want an employee to go through that when he is not supposed to. So when you use this angle, you are able to get a lot of people involved. Then, so these are for the advantages and disadvantages. You will read on them. I'm not going to. If you read on them and we have another lecture, please note it down and ask questions based on it, and then I can explain it to you. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of the 360 degrees. So we move on to the next method, which is the rating scale method. The rating scale method. So for who will help us with the rating scale method? Who will help us? Yes, anyone? Hello.
Hello, madam.
Yes.
Yes, madam.
Madam, please, is it that one that they use to evaluate employee performance? The one they always score a specific trait.
The rating scale method.
Yes, madam.
I like the way you started. Is it? Anyway, so where we have the rating scale method, basically you you have the person who is assessing you or evaluating you. They rate you based on certain judgments. And sometimes these judgments are actually based on what they feel you have done. So most people use this scale. So the organization can say, or the one evaluating you based on what the organization has can say that, okay, when it comes to communication, maybe you are good. So good is 3. Or you are poor. Poor is 1. Or is excellent. Excellent is 5. So there's a scale. You see, there's a scale that will be used to assess you when they look at what you have been able to do, and let's say in communication, in how you have communicated. They will say, oh, okay, so I think your communication or your teamwork support is average or is excellent. So these are skills with different categories, and the evaluator will pick one of them to describe you in a particular area of your work. So are you clear on that? Hello, who answered the question?
Yes, madam.
Madam, please, can
Okay.
you come again?
Madam,
So I'm saying that, yeah, Laurentia, you wanted to ask something before
Yes.
I explain.
With the rating scale method, is it that one that they always score you? Because our new appraisal is like they always give you some percentage.
So they can decide that there are different areas in the organization: teamwork, meeting your targets, maybe your communication skills, interpersonal relations with other members of staff in the office, your judgment skills, how you are able to judge things. They can even ask. It's like a form that the evaluator has, and then he has numbers assigned to the whatever ratings they want to give you. So it's a scale, but they have numbers attached to it. When they finish, they can say that, okay, for communication, all the questions of communication, you score 20 or 15. All the question on customer service, when I ticked and I totaled it, you had 15. So you add 15 plus 15, communication plus interpersonal skills plus communication, and then they can say that, okay, your overall performance is 80% when I put all the totals together. So the one who said she didn't understand, do you get my point now?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it clear? Okay. Right.
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you. So that is what the rating scale method uses. And then we have, so each one of them has its own advantages and disadvantages. And then we have the essay type also. The essay type, that one is qualitative in nature. That one, your boss can sit down and write copious essay. We all know how we write myself, my best foot, my first day at school. So they will write an essay. If it is about your communication, they will write essay, very detailed narration about you. And that is what will be used to assess you. So they will write about your strengths, they will write about your weaknesses, and they will write on the fact that you are growing, whether it is negatively or positively, they will write all these things. So it has to be read. You sit down and read all these things about you. So there are no numbers. Instead of giving you ratings on a scale, poor 1, excellent 2, or excellent 5, they would rather write an essay on how best you are doing, the areas you need to improve on, and the areas that you have even already improved on. So that is the essay method of assessing your performance in an organization. And then we have the forced choice. So the forced choice, the forced distribution ranks employees into fixed categories. So just like we have the rating scale where we give you 1, poor, 5, excellent, 3, maybe you are doing well. We say, okay, for 1 is poor, for 2 is fair, for 3 is good, for 4 it is very good, and then 5 we say it is excellent. So the same way, the first choice will also have some. So the first choice many a times incorporates the rating scales. They will, when you have added all the areas that you have to assess the person on, and you give maybe 80%, 80% can be high. Maybe like UCC, our scale of assessment. For you to get A, it should be 100 to 80. B plus is 79 to 75. B is 74 to 70. C plus, and so on and so forth. So in the same way, in an organization, when you have been assessed, you can be classified as a high performer, an average performer, or a low performer. So maybe you get 10% and you are classified as a low performer. We are saying forced because we are forcing the employee's performance into a distribution. That's why we call it forced distribution. So the person is an average performer, all right, but we are forcing him into a range that 70% is average, 10% is low, so that we'll be able to have a composite assessment of the employee. So basically, that is what the forced distribution is about. And then the last but not least is the work standard. The work standard is where we have some predefined job performance standards. So for productivity, we can decide to have some level of assessment for each employee. Just a minute. Okay, so the work standard, it is more or less, it's also seen as a simple performance appraisal method. And you have clearly set targets or standards. So if I can help you to understand it more, you have some specific standards for every job that has to be done, and how that work should be done, how well it should be done, and how long you need to take to finish that job or complete that task. Every employee's work is compared against these standards that you have. So you have these standards set in advance. And the standard can include the quantity, the quality, the time, or the cost. So when the employee maybe you see the worker is supposed to produce 50 cakes of soap in a day, which means that for 8 hours, an employee is supposed to produce 50 pieces of soap or cakes of soap. If he produces 45, he's falling short of the standard. So it means that his work standard has fallen. So if the person also is able to produce 60 units in a day, it means that that employee is the best. He's doing well. So why do we use the work standard? It's just to help us so that we can compare what the employee has done against what is required of him. So you can easily say that, oh, he was supposed to do 50, but he did 60. So that's why I'm paying him more. And for some organizations, they even say they should fill the form for overtime because everybody is being paid for 50 units. Everybody is producing 50 units. You have to produce 60. So to compensate you, fill the form for overtime, and then we pay those 2 units as overtime for you. And it is, so this method is very objective and fair. It is easy for you to understand it and also to measure it. And that is why some organizations use this kind of method. So this brings us to the end of session 4. We move on to session 5, which is we are going to look at the guidelines for effective performance appraisal. So for you to be able to say that your performance appraisal is effective, or you are following a laid down guideline that the organization can boldly say that, oh, we don't just assess people, but we have a guideline that we follow. That guideline must be able to meet certain criteria. So the first one is the job-related criteria. So for the job-related criteria, we are saying that whatever you are evaluating or assessing the person on, it must be based or extracted from the person's job description. Don't do it in abstract. If you do it based on the person's job description, then we can say that you are being objective. So we want, one important guideline is that when you use job-related criteria, it helps you to be objective. It helps you to be truthful to the person. So the person cannot say that, oh, you didn't do this, you underscored me because you don't like me. And then the next point is the performance expectation. The performance expectation is that the one who is assessing the two, let's use maybe manager or the employer. The manager stands for the employer. And then the employee is the one whose performance appraisal is being assessed. You will have to agree on what you want to assess the person on. So you, the employer, must agree with the employee on what they will be assessed on. We're ahead of the time for the assessment. You don't want to take anybody by, you don't want to take them by surprise. So you can even decide to send letters to everyone who has to go through appraisal and tell the people that on this date we are going to have appraisal. Maybe 1 month from now we are going to have performance appraisal. And these are the indicators we'll be looking at. So if they have any documentations or evidence, they can gather all these things and keep them for that meeting. You don't want them to come and then you ask them a question and then, oh, I have sold a loan of about 50,000. I have all the names of the customers there, but I didn't bring it. I didn't know you asked me about the loan. So you should let the performance expectations be known ahead of time to the employees. The third one is, please, if you need to ask a question, just draw my attention because, yeah, Abigail, I can see your hand up.
So, Madam, please, my question is, the performance expectation aspect, must it be applied in all settings? For instance, in a school where you want to know the performance of teachers, you have to inform the teachers before you appraise them, because sometimes you have to ask the students how the teacher is performing on a course. Thank you.
Yeah. So you are, as an organization, you have decided that you want to have partial 360-degree method. And then you also have the face-to-face method of assessing the individual. So once they are aware of the methods to be used, I don't think they will have a problem. But you cannot, you see, people have set their times to do their work. And you may be at 2 p.m. You want to meet that person to appraise that individual. Let them know that if it is something that even the organization, everybody knows what they are supposed to. Sometimes it is not clearly stating that I'll assess you on this, but there are areas on your performance appraisal form. There are things you want to know. So maybe you can write a general letter and say that, okay, please take note that your performance appraiser will border on the following major areas: your communication, your teaching, your teamwork. So it is up to the person to know what he wants to gather before he comes in to do his appraisal.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. And the third point is standardization. Some organizations want to use the same evaluation instrument to assess everyone in the, especially let's say you have HR managers or HR officers. You want to use the same instrument to assess all the HR officers, but with the manager, you want to change his form of assessment. Maybe there are other things you want, other questions you want to ask. So it means that the performance appraisal has been standardized. It's a standard for everybody in this category. If they are accountants or assistant accountants, they are all going to be assessed using the same evaluation instrument or questions. So as the word itself says, standardization, you are using one standard to assess everyone, but it should be in the same job category. That's one thing you need to know. You cannot use an instrument that you use for HR managers to go and assess finance directors. It doesn't work that way. Fourth thing, that guideline that you should know as an organization when you are designing your performance appraisal system is that We should make sure that those who appraise, the appraisers, they are periodically trained. You see, these are human beings. You need, when you even change your rating form, you need to train these people to understand what is required of them. Otherwise, their biases will come in and it will affect somebody's salary, which you don't want anybody to take you to court. So you want to make sure that you train the appraisers. And then every good performance appraisal instrument or system must also have a continuous open communication. You should provide a way that the employees can also give you a feedback. It is not you always accusing them. Let them also have a say in their appraisal. After all, the person, maybe he or she had an issue, one or two issues. He didn't have raw materials to do the work, and you're accusing him for not being able to meet his targets. So give them the benefit of the doubt. Give them the benefit of the doubt. So it will benefit you as a manager if you are able to go to them sometimes whilst they are working and then ask them questions, and then they can tell you the problems they are facing and you help solve it for them rather than waiting for them to come and sit and now count your sins one by one. Instead of naming your blessings one by one, they start counting your sins one by one for you, where you didn't provide them with machines to do the work. No, so periodically find out about how you can also help them to make their work better. And then the third one is about conducting performance reviews. Because you want to improve performance, the main topic for this unit is appraising and improving performance. The reason why you are assessing the person is to help the person improve his performance so that they can contribute positively to the overall goal of the organization. So periodically check on them. Check on them. Don't wait till it is performance appraisal time. You can decide that there will be maybe like a rehearsal prior to the main performance appraisal. So you can call them and ask them questions. How can we help your work to become better? How are things going? And then they can tell you things. Then you can help them to improve upon their performance. So that when there's an appraisal and you call them for appraisal meeting, you realize that you'll be able to see that they are pushing or they are using some of the ideas that you discuss with them. And that is what you want to achieve. You don't want to just keep on finding fault with them. And then last but not least is due process. With the due process, you want to make sure that you have an avenue, even if you don't have the time to go to them to ask them about their work. Create an avenue for them to come and talk about their problems or their grievances so that you correct all that needs to be corrected. And that will give you a happy employee. If you don't do that, you have an employee who is always sad and always complaining all the time. So that is what you need to do as to make your performance appraisal effective and efficient. It is not only human beings who have to work effectively and efficiently, but your policies that you also put in place must also be effective. So that brings us to the end of section 5. We are starting section 6, and section 6 is the last section in the unit. So section 6 borders on common problems with performance appraisal. So in assessing the individuals, there are certain errors that come up, and we must not lose sight of these errors. We must not lose sight of them. We need to ensure that these problems are reduced to the minimum, and not rather hype it. It should be reduced to the minimum. So the first is appraiser discomfort. Appraiser discomfort. So under the appraiser discomfort, when you read performance management under unit 2, we saw how Sally, I said you should read that thing and then you will give me feedback, what you saw, the issues you can raise from it. I will note it at our next meeting. I'll ask you before we go on to the next class. If I forget, please remind me, and I'll see who will remind me. So sometimes when we want to appraise our employees in an organization, most people see it as a very cumbersome and tiring process, because you see, they have to now go and gather all the paperwork and evidences that they have to use to prove that they are doing their work well. And because they don't want any dispute or any doubt in the mind of the person who is going to appraise him or her. So during those times, when the letter comes, appraisal is going to take place in a month, you see some people, they have a lot of discomfort. They have a lot of discomfort in getting the paperwork that they have to use to show their evidence. That is for the one who is to be appraised. But the one who is also going to appraise, sometimes they also have a discomfort. And this point relates more to the appraiser than the appraisee. I'm giving you that aspect of the appraisee as well. But the appraiser, looking at all the paperwork they have to sit down and tick when they're asking questions and ticking, some people don't like it. They feel very uncomfortable with it. So that is what we mean by appraiser discomfort. But there's also appraisee discomfort. All the points we are looking at, it's from the point of view of the one who is doing the appraisal. But I also gave you a picture of the one who is to be appraised, where they also have some discomforts. The next point is lack of objectivity. Many a times, the one who is going to appraise, they are not objective. They tend to be subjective as a result of looking at the person. The person comes in and we look at the dressing. We say, manka so yes serious. Then the dressing or the attitude. You look at the person's attitude, you look at the person's appearance, the person's personality, and that is it brings in your subjectivity. So if the person comes in and he's dressed well, then you feel that, oh, this person, I can easily, looking at the way he's dressed, he can easily make it, his performance will be good. It is not always so. It is not always so. Who will be your shirt shooter? or team fifri. The some question or team fifri. His personality looks good, his appearance looks good, but when you begin to fire the questions, then you see that he's sitting in an air-conditioned room but he's sweating. So when you are subjective to the person's attitude, appearance, and personality, we say you are lacking objectivity. The next point is halo error and horn error. So halo error is when the person who is going to appraise you uses one positive performance or incident to override everything and classify you as somebody who is a high performer. So, for instance, you come in, he's assessing you, and you tell him of a situation where you were able to perform very high, taking care of the customer or a colleague in the office, and that alone clouds his judgment. Maybe he could be even the one that you help, and that positive incident clouds his memory or his judgment. And he says, oh, this person is a high performer. The way he likes helping people, even the way he helped me or helped this customer. So that is the halo error. Then we have the horn error, which occurs when one negative performance or incident overrides. So in the halo error, one positive thing you did clouds the judgment of the one appraising you, and he or she classifies you as a high performer. So the horn error is true or is the opposite of halo error. So the horn error, one negative thing you did that this person is privy to, clouds his judgment and he sees you as a very low performer. So these assessments can be true or not on both sides. And then the fifth one is, the fourth one is the leniency or the strictness. The leniency. So on the slide, I have leniency error, but it is leniency / strictness error. So this is an error that the one assessing you, evaluating you, tends to commit because they don't want to be classified as a good person. So everybody who comes, they want to give those people high ratings. They give high ratings to everybody who comes. Meanwhile, not everybody deserves high rating. And this is a deficiency on the part. It's, oh, I want to be lenient, so let me give everybody who comes in 8, 9, 8, 9, 8, 9. And then there's the one also who commits the strictness error. Here, the one who is assessing is so critical that everybody who comes, oh, let me give them 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. He's very strict. So the leniency is the opposite of the strictness. Then we have the one who also is neither lenient or neither strict. Everybody who comes, he puts the person in the middle. That is the central tendency. He wants to make sure that 5 or 6, 5 or 6, 5 or 6. If you don't get 5, you get 6. So he's in the middle or average. He's giving average ratings. He's giving average ratings, not looking at the content of what the person is saying. Some might even deserve 8 or 9, but because he wants to be the type who will not be criticized by the organization or criticized by the employees. Like they are the one we call, they are playing it safe. And then we have, last but not least, the stereotyping. The stereotyping people are the people who assess other people and then they try to um, think that, oh, this person does not really fit into my criteria. And this may be unfair. It can be something that is unfair. It's just a minute. My dogs are making too much noise. Just a minute. Okay, so we are on the last point, which is stereotyping. So as I was trying to explain, um, all right. So with the stereotyping, it is basically the one who is doing the performance appraisal, making or having some assumptions about the person who's assessing or the person he's evaluating. So where you have a prejudiced mind about the person, sometimes it's because you don't know the person. I heard somebody talking about when I became a lecturer, I had another lecturer talking about a particular lecturer, but he was telling me based on what he knows about the person. So I told him to give me opportunity to also have my own relationship or relations with that person. So I get to know the person more because he is telling me about his experience with that person. So you can imagine if I'm to assess that person, I will make assumptions about that person based on what the person has told me. Like maybe what he is even saying is not all the truth, or he doesn't need get to know him more, or he might not be telling me what he did to that person before the other person did that to him or her. So you think that the person is lazy or is hardworking just because the person is belonging to a particular group. So you see, all fat people are lazy because they are fat, they can't move fast. Or all slim people are hardworking. Or all people from this category of school are friendly. It might not be true. They are not things you can say are true, or you sometimes you see an elderly person who is very good. Please, just a minute. Hello, Juliet. Okay, so it is important for you not to have assumptions about the person sitting in front of you. Deal with the person as an individual sitting before you. Don't let certain things cloud your judgment about that person. Even if you've been told that that person is unfriendly, during that time, there is no way you can use that information against that person because he's not giving you the opportunity to know that he's unfriendly or not. So that brings us to the end of the errors with performance appraisal in organizations. The last thing we want to look at is appraisal interview. For appraisal interview, when you want to um, do appraisal interview, you need to make sure that if you want to evaluate or assess or appraise an employee's performance, you must make sure that you schedule the interview. Don't say two-ish, four-ish, four-ish, five-ish. What is that? We have time on the clock. So give the person the specific time. Oh, okay, 2 p.m. we start. If you say around 12:01, there is no clock that gives a time like around 12:01. Make sure you schedule it and communicate it clearly to the employee at 12. And at 12, you should start the interview. Right. Now, the next thing you also have to look at if you are to do the appraisal interview is the interview structure. The interview structure, you should know whether the structure you are going to use is going to be one that is a discussion problem, bring the problem, let me help you solve it. But don't also go into the fault, always finding fault with the person. It will be like a fight. So structure is that, okay, to be a discussion about the employee's performance. So when I speak, I'll give the person opportunity to also speak. And that will help the person to improve his or her performance. It is not a fight. It's an interview to assess It's not a fight. Yeah. The next one is the use of praise and criticisms. So where you are having the interview, where the person has done well, praise him. I mean, it doesn't take anything from you. Where the person is also not doing well, make sure you bring your criticism out so that the person will be able to work on it. But criticize constructively and make sure that you don't demoralize the person, threaten the person for him to feel that he has no self-esteem. That will not help the individual. The next thing is the employee's role. The employees that are to be interviewed should also spend time to put all their documents together for the interview. And that is why we give them letter ahead. So they will not be, it will not be a discomfort for them. But where you say Monday, so Wednesday, I'm going to have appraisal, you put the person in an obscure position. So make sure that you make the employees more effective and efficient. He has enough time to prepare and come and meet you, because they also have a role to play in the interview. And then finally, conclude the interview. The interview should end on a good note, on a fine note. If there are things the employee has to do, discuss it in two timelines. All of you should agree. It should not be a veto. This is what I've said and it's final. No. We are not in the soldier era. So you make sure that you continue the interview. You both of you agree on what is to be done to help the employee perform well. So under this session, we have been able to look at some of the common errors of performance appraisal. And then we have also looked at the appraisal interview itself, what we need to do to ensure that the interview is very accommodating for everybody. So in general, under the unit, we have looked at the fact that assessing performance is good for the employee to grow and also the organization also to be successful. So we need to do it. Just like you are schooling, if nobody is giving you exams to let you know how well you are doing, you will finish the school and you will say bye-bye, no graduation, no certificate, nothing. It will not help you. So you will not know whether you can get a job with just going to say, I mean, saying it with the math, everybody can do it and they get a job. If we are able to appraise individuals, it gives them opportunity to also go into promotions or get into new positions. We are able to train them and also help them to improve their performance. And then when we have the right appraisal methods, it will ensure that there's fairness and effectiveness of the appraisal review. So that brings us to the end of the class. Thank you. Any comments, any contributions, any questions? Hello, are we there? Are we alive and kicking? So we finished unit 3. Right, so silence means that you have understood everything. So I expect you to do well in your, quiz. When we do unit 4 and we finish, we will, and each group, each center, BOTEC, KTI, all of you, each one of you should please send me your class list. So Butek, Bompe, Keta, Tamale, Sokode, and KTI. I'll be, I'm going to put my email in the chat right now. I'm putting my email in the chat. That is what you will use to send me the class list.
Madam, see, some of us are not in the group.
Yeah.
Me, for
Pardon?
instance, I said some of us are not in the group. The chat you are talking about.
No, this chat, this meeting, the Google Meet, the chat.
Oh,
You will
okay.
see I have put my email address into the chat. It's Edna Okole at gmail.com. And you have to look at it and
But madam, do we have WhatsApp group for this subject?
there are other members. It is there are other members on that platform. You know, HRM level 300, you are many. So 2 of us are teaching you. And the other group is also on that platform. Those in Tema and other, they are there. And I don't want you to post your class list onto that page. I want you to send it to my email so that I'll open it. And then I know you also have groups already, right?
Yeah, but madam, not on this course.
Do you want to use the same groupings for this course, or you want to do another grouping for this course?
And I will do another grouping.
So I'm leaving it with you. When you do the grouping, please make sure that when you send me the class list and the class list, it's name and registration number. But the groupings is only names. Okay? So you can give me, the group leader can send the email to me and say, these are my group members. I will assign numbers to it and then share the topics for you. And every group must indicate who the group leader is so that I can communicate with the group leader. I don't have to communicate to the whole group. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, man.
All right. So the email address is there, and we will discuss all these things. If you send me the list early, I will let you know what each group is presenting on, so that when you finish the quiz, you can start working. So I want the list for Butek, everybody, for Bompe, everybody, Keta, Sokode, KTI, everybody's center list. So the center list and then the group list for the presentation. So thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.
You're welcome, madam.
Bye-bye.
Hi, madam.
Please, can anybody put the email address on the platform? Where are they? Okay.
I don't think Madam wants her email to be there. That's why she didn't put it there. So just click on the 3 dots and then click on the chat. You will see the email there. It's so easy. In the Google Meet, just click on the 3 dots down. You click on chat. Then you see the email there.
Please, please don't hang up. Let's try and see if we'll be able to do it. If not, then in case of any assistance, you help us. Hello.
Where the microphone and then the smiley emoji is in
Yeah, that
between.
red dot.
Yes, just click on it. Then the interface will open. You see the hand app, the share
There what?
screen. You see you when we click on that three dots, you will see
Yes.
chat. Have you seen chat?
No, there's no chat.
There's chat. When you click on
No,
the three dots, the interface that will open, you will see a hand emoji app.
yes,
You will see the screen app.
yes, please.
Then you see, have you seen on the go?
Yes.
Then under the on the go, there is chat before settings.
No, I don't have them.
You don't have chat.
Yes, I don't have it.
Please, there's some message this thing be there. The one under, just press the option under the chat.
If you don't have chat, then there's
So press
message.
it.
You can do it.
The on the go, something under in call message. Press that one.
Yes,
Have you pressed it?
yes,
Have you seen it?
yes, please.
So that's it.
So that
Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Okay.
Very good. Okay,
Nice
bye.
meeting you. Bye bye.
Okay.